EAGLES, Eagles.
And welcome in, everybody, to a Wednesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen, back in the saddle. Good to be with everybody this morning on a Wednesday. J Mac, how you doing this morning, my friend?
Back, doing well. Sorry I missed yesterday's show, but hey, it happens. First one, I think, in how many years? So
yeah, long time,
Johnny
Johnny Mac. Long time, my friend.
Missed some games for traveling and things like that, but
that's a little different. That's a little different.
But anyway, good to be back. Glad you were able to hold down the fort late notice, but I tried to. I didn't know how early. I didn't want to text you too early, but I pretty much knew at 3:30 in the morning, so I didn't want to go that far. But hopefully things went well.
Yeah, no, it was all good, Johnny Mac. We missed you, brother. It's good to have you back on here. It's not the same when J Mac is not in here. J Mac is Birds 365, so we appreciate you getting back in, Johnny Mac. Good to hear everything is at least stable and good at home, so we appreciate you doing it today. John, are you sure you missed us, though? You want to talk A.J. Brown? You want to talk wedding drama? You want to talk Sean Mannion, Johnny Mac? I know you missed us, but how much did you really miss us?
Well, you know, I didn't. I was kind of off the grid yesterday, so I haven't seen a lot of stuff. But I assume I did see some A.J. Brown stuff, and now Jacksonville, and everybody's trying to pipe up that hot stove league, and the Rams are back in it. Nobody has yet to explain to me why in the world Howie Roseman would trade A.J. Brown to the one team that probably is better than his in the same conference. It just makes no sense to me. So, you know, it's understandable from the Eagles standpoint, trying to, you know, that's how you get more. You create leverage and you create multiple teams. And who knows, maybe Jacksonville. Hat tip to Tony Khan, if you're listening, Jacksonville, if they get involved, and Brian Thomas, and a good player.
That's a team that makes a little more sense, right, John?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you'd like to get him out of the conference.
Right.
That's probably the best. You know, he would come in, even though he had from a talent perspective, even though he had a down year in his second season, you know, he's probably the best player you would have to potentially replace AJ. Not saying that he would, but at least, you know, now you're counting on a rookie. You're counting on Dontavian Wicks. You know, Brian Thomas showed as a rookie that he's pretty dynamic. Now, again, that's consistency is a big thing in the NFL, and to go from 87 catches, 1,282 yards, 10 touchdowns as a rookie to 48 and 2 touchdowns in the second season. And by the way, you know, Jacksonville turned into a pretty good team last year. So, and why do they want to move on from that player? So you have to ask yourself all those types of questions. But I think from just a pure talent perspective, he's almost 6'3", 209 pounds, ran a 4.33. Like, he's got everything. And can you develop that? So that would be interesting to me if I'm the Eagles to be able to get a player like that. But ultimately, I do think it's going to be the Patriots. So I wouldn't get too hyped up about that.
Yeah, no, I do like the idea, though, of Howie being able to work the market. Now, obviously, he always will do that. That's not to say that this news changes Howie working the market. We all know he was working the market. But I don't know, John, I look at a guy like James Gladstone, and I mean this with no disrespect to him, but
he's the real life.
That looks like a guy that Howie Roseman could take to school, my friend.
It's the real life Jeff Carson. Well, I think he already took Rob Brzezinski, the interim GM, to school. Yeah, I mean, look, Howie's got a big advantage over the rest of his peers. The most, you know, there's a couple less Snead. That's another thing. The Rams, that would be interesting. You know, it's power versus power, not only on the field, but in the front office. John Snyder, obviously, but very few GMs are on the same footing as Howie Roseman. And that's why he can wait to 2028 to get a first round pick. So when people say, oh, he's not getting a first round pick, and I was pretty steadfast and said, oh, he's getting a first round pick. I don't know when, but he'll get it.
So do you view that as not an issue at all if they get a future one? I've had some people say, well, don't you want it now? And I'm, my thought process, John, I don't know if it's wrong, but it's at least my thought process at the moment was Howie is good enough that give him the chamber of assets and he will use that chamber of assets to go and acquire what he wants or who he wants. That's kind of how I looked at it, as opposed to, well, I have a first round pick in 2028, so I can't do anything with it until 2028. Get the assets together, let Howie shake and bake a little bit. I've seen him trade up back in multiple different years. You saw what he did, obviously, with Devontae Smith and that trade back where he went from 6 to 12, got another pick in the following year. So is that a wrong way to look at it, or is that the right way to look at it?
No, I think he's always, that's the big advantage. That's what I'm trying to say. Like he can operate with the future in mind. A lot of these guys can't operate with that kind of long distance view, because they don't know if they're going to be there. So they say to themselves, well, why do I want a 2028 first round pick? I don't even know if I'm going to be here to take it. Howie looks at it as just like an asset, do you say? And everybody's so hyper focused. And this is not only fans, but, around the league, because they're GMing for their job, so to speak. Everybody's immediate. They want that immediate satisfaction. Right. And you can make some mistakes when you do that. And it's more than, I know the biggest thing that frustrates Howie Roseman is the misunderstanding that every trade, and it's just the nature of the industry, every trade, every draft pick, every signing is treated like a standalone decision as part of instead of a big part of a mosaic. He might be looking for a freaking quarterback after this season. Would it be nice to have an extra first round pick if you need a quarterback?
But some people would push back, John, and say, yeah, it'd be nice to have one in 2027.
Well, it'd be nice to have any. You can use future picks. You have an extra first round pick.
Right. That's kind of how I see it. Yep.
And so it's this large, but everybody's like, well, you got to get, and then the AJ Brown trade is closed. Like, it's not closed. It's not closed until everything, and who knows, he might flip that off for more assets. So, if you look at the Grenard trade, it looks great on paper. It's not closed because there's still a third round pick that has to come back next year. But and you can go rewind too and say, well, from a negative standpoint, why'd you send a third round pick to get Jalen Phillips? You could have, you could have just paid an extra $5 million to just kept your picks. So you can make that argument too. But it's it's just in human nature. Everybody looks at, this draft pick by itself is a good pick, not its overall place in the mosaic, as I said, the trade. And that's why he tried to bring up very early in the process when you're talking about the Eagles draft. Well, to talk about the Eagles draft properly, this year's draft, you have to talk about Jonathan Grenard and Dontavian Wicks, not just the picks.
Right.
And he's right, but few people look at it that way.
You think it's more likely than not, though, that this is basically a handshake deal done with the Patriots, and maybe some of this is, I don't want to call it a smokescreen, but not as real as obviously the speculation to the Patriots is?
Well, you might have today's May 20th, so you might have 13 days to work with it for the content creation world. So how do you get the most out of that? And look, there's no guarantee this has to be done by June 2nd either. AJ just might, go on his honeymoon and say, you know what, New England, I don't want to do off-season work, and I'll see you in July. And it might continue into July, and we'll have that potential layer. Well, maybe it will show up, that kind of thing. So, there's a good chance that these what should I call them today? These grifters have only 13 days to milk the AJ Brown story.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. 13 days out probably until A.J. Brown is as good as gone from the Philadelphia Eagles. It was a good 4-year run, everybody. All right. It was a good 4-year run. I would encourage people. I don't think they need to shit on A.J. Brown.
Well, that's absurd. If they don't recognize that, that's absurd.
Man. One of the best receivers in Eagle history, no doubt about it. Johnny Mac, did you take anything? Here we go. You're not going to like this. I didn't even want to do it, but did you make anything of the whole wedding thing? And I don't say that because I want to do the drama thing, but I guess it would highlight really a degrading relationship between the two, AJ and Jaylen. I don't even know if Jaylen wasn't there. I don't know if we've confirmed that, but did you take anything of it, John?
No. I mean, we've already known the relationship is not what it was when they were very close. Brandon Graham let everybody on to that. You remember that escapade?
Yeah, right.
So no, it doesn't. It doesn't surprise me. But then you have TMZ reporting that no Eagles current teammates were there, and they got this grainy picture because there was a lot of security, evidently. And I'm looking at it, and I go, "Boy, that sure looks like Alex Hunt's hair."
Yeah,
I'm like,
and Saquon Barkley looked like I saw Saquon there.
I'm like, so I mean, right off the bat, they're wrong, and obviously former teammates Slay and Isaiah were groomsmen. So, but I mean, these are, by all indications, they kept it very quiet. They kept it it might've been late. It might've been, there's so many different things that can happen. And, Jalen's doing his stuff, and these are grown men, and these are high profile people, and they commit to things. And sometimes you can't make it, but let's be honest, on the other side, if they were as close as they once were, he would have been there, and he wasn't. Right. So,
yeah,
I mean, I think that's fair. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I think it's fair. I don't think you have to be best friends to, like, not everybody on the Eagles are best friends,
which is obvious. But I mean, obviously with Jaylen, and AJ, Jaylen being the godfather.
No, it's more of a thing because they were so close. Yeah, they were so close, and he's the godfather of his daughter. So, I mean, it's not what it once was. So, but I think people already knew that. That's like Brandon Graham let everybody in on that over a year ago. I forget the date, but so I mean, that's just part of the process of where we've gotten to, and it's all just regurgitation of the same stuff. But I get why it became a story.
You're right, though. You could clearly see some inaccuracies pretty quickly. They said no relevant Eagles. I saw the picture of Jay Looks that you referenced. I also saw a photo of what looked like Saquon Barkley. I mean,
pretty unmistakable. The only one I said Alex because I know that's Alex from his hair, but
right.
And there could have been other people that weren't pictured. I don't know, and I don't know if it was big, if they kept it small. I don't know. Like, I know a lot of his teammates, when he got engaged, a lot of his teammates were there. When he did the John Legend thing, maybe they just wanted to see John Legend. Who knows?
Yeah, right. Who knows is right. All right, good stuff. We're going to wrap that up. We don't need to spend too much time on that. I want to thank Alexander Harris. Big super chat here this morning. $50 chat. He says, good morning to you guys and welcome back, John. Prayers to you and yours. Harris, thank you, brother. That's pretty cool of you to drop that $50 super chat in there. It's good to have John McMullen back here on Birds 360.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Alexander. Thank you very much, and thank you for supporting the show. Getting old. That's what makes me think of. I'm getting old, man. Shit happens.
John, you still got it. You still got your fastball, my friend. No doubt about it. All right, John. So as we continue to roll through this offseason here, we do have like you mentioned, I think 13 days or so until AJ is gone. One last question on AJ here. We're going to have Mike Gill. We'll talk some defense. We'll talk a bunch of stuff with Mike Gill, I'm sure, as we usually do. We'll talk to Brandon Lee Gouton in hour number 2. I got to ask this question, John. I'd be curious what your answer would be. As we prepare to now say goodbye to A.J. Brown as an Eagle, and it was a great run for A.J. Brown here in Philadelphia. Again, like you pointed out, I hope everybody recognizes that. I think they should. Do you think it was Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, the offense as a whole? What do you think led to the point where A.J. Brown has no interest in being a part of the Philadelphia Eagles anymore? If you had to put it somewhere, where would you put it?
Well, I think it's the offense, the way they play offense. Yeah, I definitely think it's that.
But is that a reflection to you on Nick? Is it a reflection on the quarterback?
I know everybody hates that, but I think it's everybody. I think part of it's on the quarterback. Yeah, he's not a high volume thrower. AJ knows that better than anybody. Part of it's on Nick for making it so risk averse, which makes it, I think, even worse from his standpoint. And then part of it is, his competitive nature, which, is a give and take. It makes him a great player, but it also makes him apt to being upset at things when he can't perform up to the level he thinks he can to contribute. I think that's the biggest from a personal standpoint. And you saw it after the Super Bowl. He was like, they win the Super Bowl, and he was like, this is it. Let's get back to work. Everybody said it's great, and how he was supposed to feel, and he didn't feel that way. And I remember saying at the time, well, that's what makes him who he is. I mean, you're just always looking for the next goal as far as, being, all right, we did it and that's it. And, wipe your hands and say, I got mine. So that part's of a give and take, but I think it's all those things. And I think ultimately he knows it's not coming here, and he wants to be regarded with Chase and Jefferson and everybody else as one of the best receivers in football. Ironically, he was for a while, and that took a big hit last year, I think. And to do it when he was in this offense tells you how good he was. But so I do think a lot of it has to do with personal legacy, and maybe people will paint that as selfish, but whatever. I think it's what drives him. I think it's what makes him a great player. So that's the give and take.
Well, I think what makes it a little bit less selfish is that it would be one thing if the offense was dominating, and he wasn't getting his touches. I think that would fall itself more in the selfish category. Now, there's degrees of selfishness, I guess, here, but it's not like he was wrong about the offense. I mean, but I do feel like people, John, because they've now, they don't like AJ anymore, and they all hate him. Oh, because he's gone. So that now they all want to shit on him out the door.
He's not gone yet. He's still a Philadelphia Eagle.
Still an Eagle today, but you know what I mean. Like now that it looks like he's out the door. It's change what the past was and forget what it actually was. It's not like AJ was wrong. It's not like they were a top performing offense and he just wasn't getting his yards and crying to stink. The offense stunk. So, there is some truth to that, I think, too. And that has to be factored.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt he was right. I mean, the Eagles stamped that he was right by what they did this offseason.
Yeah, right. Firing the damn coordinator and everything.
That now, if you want to revert back to 2024, when people were tying themselves into a pretzel and saying, well, it's not that bad because they were winning because of the running game. He was the one trying to say, look, this is going to bite us in the ass at some point. And he wasn't the only one, by the way, but he was the most high profile. And he was right. They managed to get a Super Bowl, though, before he turned right. And that, I think, clouds the vision. Like, well, what yourself if you're winning every game? Well, he was trying to say, look, this is what I always say, different version of, there's a small margin for error if we can't throw the football better. And they didn't need it. And when they did perform well, and they always have these pockets where the performance is well. Well, they did this against Washington. They did this against Kansas. They did this against Minnesota last year. They can do it. I mean, think about how disingenuous that is. That's like that. Kansas City in the Super Bowl is like an NBA game when you're up 40 and you look great offensively. Well, all right, you played well to get to that point, and then it's just a blowout. And it was obviously defensively tinted, that blowout. Washington, the same thing. By the way, now in hindsight, how amazing is it that Washington made that NFC Championship game? I mean, I was just looking at their roster. It is awful. It is awful 2 years later. By far the worst in the division in my estimation.
Do you think they finish in fourth?
I think so.
Unless some heroics, I guess, from Jaden.
I mean, yeah, you always Jaden Daniels effect, if he can, because he kind of lifted him that year. But man, they were not ready for that game, and I think people acted like they were, and they weren't. So it was again a nice performance, just like Minnesota was. Yeah, great performance. Can you do it consistently? No, they can't. How many now? Those same people, how many sub 200-yard passing games have they had over that 2-year stretch? It's ugly.
Yeah. No doubt. We'll see what ends up happening here, Johnny Mack, as we continue to roll along. John, yesterday in your absence, I did a segment on, I believe, John, that the Philadelphia Eagles defense will be a top 5 unit this year. And I did pull up a lot of the advanced metrics, kind of some that you talked about. I meant to ask you who you used to look at, the EPA per play. Is it Sumer Sports or SUM? Yeah. All right. So I was looking there. I did kind of pull up those rankings. And then I kind of factored in some of the personnel changes. And I'm of the belief that they've improved their pass rush, I think, with Jonathan Grenard. I'm of the belief they improved their cornerback position, assuming Quinyon and Cooper maintain their level of play, and you add in Tariq Woolen, who I do think is an upgrade from Adoree Jackson. And if those guys can, help offset that safety position, which right now does look like it got a little bit worse, I feel pretty confident about Jahad Campbell. You obviously still have Vic Fangio to get the most out of these players. John, feels to me like this can be a dominant defensive year for the Eagles if things go their way. I think the offense has to help them out with less 3-and-outs here. I mean, they can't kill them with that. But I feel pretty strongly, John, about this defense having a really strong year this year. They got the personnel. They got the coach. They got everything they need to do it. Offense has to do their part. But it feels to me like this could be a big year for the defense, Johnny Mack.
Yeah, I mean, no reason it shouldn't be. For whatever we know. I mean, because the offense has been so highly paid, people presume the offense is more talented. That changed 2 years ago, to be honest. This will be the third consecutive year where the defense should be the strength of this team, and I think they will be the strength of this team, and I think they only got better with the additions of Grenard and Reek Woolen and also Jahad Campbell being a full-time starter. I think from a talent perspective, they got better. Can't have everything. They do have the one obvious hole in the secondary at safety opposite Drew Makuba. But point to another defense that doesn't have holes. You might say Houston. It's got a tremendous pass rush, great secondary.
Yeah, they'll have holes soon too. They just paid Will Anderson $50 million.
Well, exactly.
It's only a matter of time there.
Exactly. So, you can't have an all-pro at every position. But the Eagles, it's hard for me to imagine. I don't know what the Eagles are going to be offensively. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be really bad. It could be acceptable. What I can't project them as being, top tier, top 5 offense. Defensively, if they're not top 5, that'd be kind of disappointing to me. And more than I don't care about total yards, more EPA.
And the advanced stuff, which is obvious. Yeah, I'm with you, John. That's pretty high. That's pretty high expectation there too. Obviously, even from someone as practical or, as they say, logical as Johnny Logic. So good stuff there. Appreciate everybody being here this morning. Don't forget to hit that like button. Alexander Harris, thank you for your big super chat, brother. Appreciate all you guys. Good to have J-Mac back with me here on Birds 365. It's also good to have Mike Gill, who joins us here on this Wednesday's edition of Birds 365. You can follow him at Mike Gill Show. Listen to his show at 97.3 ESPN down the shore, the best sports program in all of New Jersey. Mike, welcome to the program, my friend. How you doing on this Wednesday morning?
One of one.
One of one. You know who's not one of one, Mike? Kenny Atkinson. Boy, that was how can you not stop that run yesterday? We'll start it off with some NBA.
Yeah.
Knicks, Cavs.
That was a shame. That's a shame.
Yeah. Was it Danhausen's curse or was it?
Yeah, right. I was laughing about that. I saw that yesterday. I said, man, that scene of when he came out, we have a TV in the studio and it was on behind us. And I was like, what is going on over here? There's like a Dracula character. And Josh, my producer, was explaining to me what was going on. And I was thinking about that last night as that 30-some to 11 run starts to happen. I love what he says at the end too. Like, yeah, I like to hold on to my timeouts. I like to have those things. I'm like,
what the hell for?
Pretty good time to hold on to them for. But I think the best situation no one's beating Oklahoma City or the Spurs. So,
I agree.
How about that Wembanyama? We're on NBA. How about that Victor Wembanyama shot the other night, John? I didn't get a chance to talk to you about it, but man, that dude can play.
Well, you watch that series and then you look at like your own team and you think to yourself, you know what? Maybe I should go on like a 3 to 5 year like hiatus again. And because no matter what I try to do in the next 3 to 5 years, I'm not beating either one of those teams.
Yeah. Probably true, but you know how fast sports moves, and Victor's filling out, but boy, he's still really, really slight, and he is,
yes.
I see that too, John. I get concerned with it, but the talent.
They do a good job. They do a good job, not like load managing him by not playing him. They just keep his minutes down. Like he doesn't play more than like 30 minutes a game, so he gets to play games, but he's not. I say this all the time about. These teams load manage guys where they just don't play them. Like, oh, they're not available tonight. Like, you're telling me the guy couldn't sit on the bench and play like 18 minutes if have him play a different role and make him the reserve guy on night so that at least
you gotta talk them into it, and there's ego and their numbers go down, and then they're not regarded as the same type of player. There's a lot that goes into that, but yeah, I mean with Victor, with Wemby, it's like. I mean, yeah, if you project him, what is he, 22? 23?
22.
I don't know. I don't even know. But, it's going to be a long time, and he can do a lot of things. But
and Oklahoma City is a very young team with the MVP. They have 3 first-round picks this year. Now, I don't think they make 3, but they have 13 first-round picks over the next 6 years. So, they're just going to keep funneling in somebody that can replace somebody that they can't afford if they, do their homework right. So the two of these teins are just set up for.
Well, by the way, if I know anything, Josh Harris will figure it out.
and think about we laugh at Philadelphia that they lost. Oklahoma City lost purposely and prospered. The Spurs have lost purposely and really prospered because they ended up with the first pick, the second pick, and the 4th pick and nailed all 3 of them. The difference was Philadelphia lost purposely and only hit one of their picks. Well, 1.5 really, if you want to count 3 seasons of Ben Simmons.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a shame. My biggest problem with the Sixers would be, they didn't do the other stuff. Like, it's fine. All right, go get the star, go get the number 1 pick. But even if they lived up to expectations and Joel, didn't have the injury history, and Ben Simmons didn't have the, I don't know what you want to call it.
He's a championship fisherman.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know that. There's that great meme. I don't know if you saw
He
it.
won. He owns some team.
Yeah.
There's like a league, and yesterday they won the whatever fishing league over the weekend. They won the fishing league championship.
I don't know if you saw the one clip, and I don't even know if it's real in the world of AI, but it is funny. And he got Ben Simmons with this big fish that he caught, and he's holding it up right in front of a giant sort of bay area, and he flips it back to throw it back in, and he missed it. He missed the layup. He hit the dock. So it is pretty funny. But my point with the Sixers is, look, there's that kid who on a role player with the San Antonio that the Sixers cut because they wanted McMullen to be in the dunk contest.
Yeah,
like that to me sums up
from the Spurs.
Sums up the Sixers more than anything else.
He's starting for the Spurs now and is shooting about 39% from three.
Exactly.
I mean, exactly the type of player you need.
Exactly.
A 6'7" wing that can shoot the three.
Exactly. So the role players developmental, that's where the Sixers have failed to me. Injuries you can't legislate. That's where the Sixers have failed to me.
Yeah, they've made mistake after mistake after mistake, and they've tried to cover it up with fixing them by, it's always the coach's fault. It was Brett Brown's fault. They hired Doc Rivers. It was Doc Rivers' fault. They don't have good enough organization. They have problems throughout the organization. They don't develop very well. They actually draft pretty well. Morey was a very good at finding and identifying talent, whether you had the 21st pick, the third pick, the second round. He got good players here. The problem is once they got him here, they got better elsewhere. Paul Reed goes someplace else. The Sixers haven't had a backup center for years. And now I will say he wasn't very good here, but why wasn't he good here? There's their problem. Why are you not getting the most out of the players that are going other places and now performing? Jared McCain, they said, we don't need this guy. He's hitting big threes in the fourth quarter.
Both the Spurs and the Thunder have ex-Sixers.
Yeah, so it's very frustrating. But we have a well-run organization right across the street.
That's true, and that's what I do think it highlights the deficiencies of particularly the Eagles' success of the Sixers and the Flyers. But Flyers finally seem to be going in the right direction. And the Phillies have had their run, so you can't put the Phillies in that category, but they don't seem to be as proactive as the Eagles. When you look at the Eagles and their organization, sometimes I rip them for being too reactive when things don't go as well, like this offseason. They act, I often say they won 11 games, but they act like they won 5. Is that a good thing?
Well, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. I mean, it's a good thing that your expectations are that, you always like to say, John, the Ricky Bobby rules, and it's essentially if, they don't win a Super Bowl, they have failed. I mean, it's good to have set that bar for you, but it also makes it an unrealistic situation. And then it puts you through seasons where if you're not performing, I'm sure it's hell going in that building sometimes for these guys. When things aren't quite going their way. Somebody mentioned the other day, if they don't trade A.J. Brown on the first or second and he has to come to those mandatories and does he even show up to them? And then you say, do you want a Ben Simmons situation where Ben Simmons shows up to practice, he's got a cell phone in his pocket, he's going through the motions, but the expectations for the Eagles are so different that something like that I can't imagine happening, because this is a team that you never hear any problems with, essentially, right? So this A.J. Brown thing, even though it seemingly became a problem, it doesn't even feel like it was a problem, right? You know what I mean? It seems like they always have their stuff in check, and it just doesn't fester to the point where it ruins. Now, in 2023, even that season, there may have been something going on that we really haven't heard much about, right? That season just kind of went off the rails. Nobody really knows why. Normally, something goes off the rails with another team.
We know the defense, the
Nick Castellanos.
Yeah,
but that's my point, though, is the Nick Castellanos thing last year. Now, the Phillies won 96 games, but you find out at the end of the year that this thing was festering all season long, and the players just didn't even want to talk to him anymore, and they just completely lost respect for him, the way he handled this whole situation. You know, you never really hear stuff like that with the Eagles. They just seemingly always have their stuff together. And that's like the one thing you have to give them credit for, which has now made the expectation so unrealistically high every single year. But as people like us who cover the team and people who root for this team, to have those expectations it's almost unimaginable when we were growing up to think that the Eagles would basically be a Super Bowl contender.
I made that joke for everybody who hates Knicks fans and forget they had, I think, 17 of 20 losing seasons. Like, it's all new Knicks fans, right?
Can you imagine that? Just think about that.
Yeah.
Just think about just think about a town, like Cleveland, where that team just goes in every year and they suck every year. Yeah. And it's a very proud fan base and they stink. And you're going into your job doing what I do every day, and the team's going to win 5 games, perpetually 5.
Yeah,
and 5 sometimes is being aggressive. So what the Eagles have done for everybody, you guys, and I mean, John, the insane amount of coverage that this team gets. I don't know that there's another team like it.
No, there isn't. There isn't. I mean, New York is split, obviously, but they've both been bad for so long. Chicago, you look at the big markets, Houston, LA is just not as passionate, but you look at the big markets and the Eagles have by far the most coverage. They have the most beat writers, and they're trying to cut it down, believe me. The most beat writers who cover them on a daily basis. They but that's good and bad. They get a lot of coverage, which helps, but it's bad from their standpoint.
Look at their schedule. I mean, I was on Wednesday last week, so I didn't see the full schedule. They have 8 standalone games. I mean, these networks are picking them and putting them on whenever they can find them.
That's why I think it's hilarious that Eagles fans think the league hates the Eagles. I think it's freaking hilarious. They freaking love the Eagles.
I don't know that I think the point is more not that I think I see what people are saying is they like that to use them as the prop, but once they have them, they want to kind of fiddle with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's just ridiculous.
They understand that the Eagles are a draw, but it's kind of
that's all they care about. That's all they care about.
Listen, you have 8 standalone games, 5 1:00 games. So, it's obvious that this is a team that they know it has drawing power. And the funny part is, you don't think when you say drawing power, Dallas has national appeal. Kansas City has kind of become a national appeal type of thing. I don't know if Philadelphia is a national appeal as much as the local appeal is so passionate that they get such a big draw from just this area, because I don't know that people in wherever other states care about the Eagles like they do the Cowboys.
No, I see. We get pretty wide audience, Mike.
Man, when I used to travel, I go to Phoenix and my Uber drivers listens to this show.
There are a lot of transplants in certain areas. I'm talking about
but I think that's what happens with
I'm talking about the areas that don't have football teams, and then they kind of latch on. We all know Dallas has fans everywhere just because of, they're not very bright and they woke up and like the star on their helmet. The Chiefs thing has kind of grown into almost like a TMZ thing that, hey, I don't have a football team. That's going to be my team because they have
success. And then,
Kelsey, but the Eagles don't have those things going for
I don't know, man. I'm having a conference call with Nielsen later today because
I was
of
on
what
that
we
email.
talked about. Yeah. Because of what we talked about on this show. Now, why does Nielsen
I want Nielsen to know, for the record, I was not the one being disparaged. I was actually saying
they know I'm believe me. They know.
Ratings, they're getting the ratings more accurate is what I was saying now than they were before.
By the way,
I hope you take him to the woodshed, John.
Nielsen, yeah, they know I was the negative one. But the reason they want to talk
well, I'm just
to
saying,
me,
I was included on that email, and I'm just saying, and I'm saying, I think the ratings today are likely more accurate of a size than what they used to be.
I'll report back. Most of it's going to be off the record, but I'll report back what I can say. But the point is, the guy who runs Nielsen Sports, the PR, is an Eagles fan. I was listening to this show. I like, I don't know how many agents I have in my phone, but they're all NFL agents, except there's one Hollywood agent who contacted me once who listens to this show. There's so many Eagles fans.
I do think there are pockets of transplanted Eagles. There's a lot of successful people from our area that have moved to other areas, and they still follow the team where they are.
I think that's all fan bases with the exception of Dallas.
I'm talking about more of states that don't have a football team or don't have one in the vicinity, and then they kind of like, I don't think like all of Idaho. I think like a lot of people from Idaho are like, we're Cowboys fans or we're Chiefs fans. I don't think like the whole state kind of grabs on to Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia is more of a very, very passionate local fan base with it's almost like a college with a great alumni base that spans across the country. And
I think the interest is fueled by the love and hate, because the people that don't like the Eagles hate the Eagles.
That's interesting, because I guess I always,
I don't know, Mike. I mean, I look at the analytics here on every day, and we're just one small network in the big picture. But dude, we got people from everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree that you have people from everywhere, because there are people from here that move everywhere.
That's true. I mean, it's hard to gauge like which one of them moved or which one of them were,
right. Like,
I think the bandwagon people that you're describing that just pick a team, pick the best team at the time they're growing up.
Well, basically. That's interesting then, John, because that's where I would say I don't find fans of the Eagles as bandwagon fans. Like, they don't jump onto the Eagles in big clumps from outside of the region. They're not like that. Whereas I do think what you're saying is the Eagle fan who moves still stays passionate and wants to stay with their team. It's like I have a lot of people who listen to my show and they're like in Florida they've moved, but they still want their Philadelphia they want that
the people down there are soft. They don't talk the same. They don't do anything the same. They need their fix of home.
Exactly. So I don't feel like people move from like Dallas. They still like the Cowboys, but I don't know that they're listening to whatever the station is in Dallas for their Cowboys fix. Whereas if you lived in the Philadelphia region and you moved to Denver, you're listening online to a show like yours or a radio show like mine because you still need that Philadelphia fix.
Well, so Mike, I feel like it's changing right now, and not from the big picture of losing fans. My point with that question is, boy, they've been on a hell of a run, Mike, and they have been a really good team, man.
Well, and that's another thing, Zander. It's we talk about all the time. The Cowboys haven't been relevant in 35 years. I mean, that's not even a joke on them. They haven't won a Super Bowl.
Right.
So at what point does that group of fans that always used to kind of go to them because they had won Super Bowls and then their kids liked them because their dad was around in the 70s and then the 90s they won again, when does that cycle end that this team always stinks? I don't really want to follow this team. And when did it didn't seem that the Patriots really got what the Cowboys got, where they became a national, where you had Patriots fans all over with them winning all those Super Bowls. And now you had the Chiefs who had their run here.
Well, I think it's success-based. Everybody but the Cowboys is success-based. So Kansas City turns
Right,
into
but my
it.
question is, to go to Xander's point, the Eagles have had a run of success where they've been really good for 25 years. They won only 2 Super Bowls, but now that they've won 2 Super Bowls, are you going to start seeing them kind of get this like,
Well, I think
the
you
good
have.
team?
I think they're not quite to the level of Kansas City because Kansas City had the almost dynasty. Tom obviously won 6 in New England, so that's kind of an outlier. They haven't reached that level, but they're just underneath it, and I think it shows by their perception in the league.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Xander, you agree. They've won 2. The Chiefs won what? 4? 3? 3. But the Eagles
And they
are
won,
not quite.
they were going for 3 consecutive. Plus, you have the Swift factor. That factors.
Right. But that's what's so the Eagles aren't quite on the Chiefs level for certain.
But they will be unless the Chiefs can start winning again.
Now, do you feel like the Patriots during the Brady era gained the same level of national notoriety and following that the Cowboys achieved through coming up, where now everybody's a Cowboy?
No, I don't. I think the Cowboys are the Yankees in perpetuity. Now, if
you don't think that's gonna, do you think that Cowboys thing has a shelf life, that they're not good and haven't been good in? You're going on almost 40 years that they have nothing to show for.
Mike, I don't think it ends.
But it doesn't.
I don't either. I don't either.
Only if you go like 1-16.
The only thing I would add to say you don't think it will end, Zander. The only thing I would wonder, and I agree with you, so I'm just saying on the other side, you haven't been good in 35, 40 years now. You also have a generation coming up that is not as fanatical the way that we were.
That's fair.
So you wonder if that dies out somewhere. That, man, I don't know about you guys. Young kids just do not watch these games like we did. It's not like
on social. But Mike, this is the social experiment that I saw with my own 2 eyes that made me say that. Maybe for the P1s, I'll call them, for the real football fans, maybe that does expire a little bit, what you just talked about. But when I walk through my living room, and I have 3 sisters and I have a mom, and they don't care about sports to save their life. In fact, whenever there's a sports game on, they're like, can you please go to the other room? I don't want to watch sports. They're like that. They're watching a show, and I look at the TV. I'm like, is that Jerry Jones? What is that? What show are you guys watching? And they're like, oh my gosh, it's this awesome show on Netflix about the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. And I'm like, what? They watched the whole show about the Cowboys cheerleaders. And I'm just like, the Cowboys do everything around it, around the football that gets all the people that aren't diehard football people, but sports people, entertainment people, Netflix people, all of those types of people, and the star and the brand and everything has grown. So that to me doesn't feel like it'll ever die.
But also, look, they haven't won since what, 96,
95, right? Or was it?
Yeah,
96?
well,
95.
95 season, so 96.
Yeah, right. February of 96.
So haven't been bad that entire time. Like, those are Ricky.
No, they haven't been Cleveland Browns bad.
No,
they've
made the playoffs. I'm counting it up real quick.
They're essentially the Philadelphia 76ers. They haven't got out of the second round. 8,
9, 10.
Tough
Right,
call, but it's real. Yeah.
They haven't made the conference championship in
But they're not
years.
Terrible. They're not. They haven't been terrible.
They're not the Cleveland Browns. They've been a relevantly good team, but never, like you say, John, you take on these teams because they win championships. That's why the Cowboys became the Cowboys, is they were winning championships at a time when
it was more than that. And I can't explain it because they didn't win as much as the Steelers. The Steelers are the team.
The Steelers also have a very it's not quite on the Cowboys level, but you do have a lot of Steelers and Packers fans that mingle out there as well.
But all I'm saying is, when the Cowboys became the Cowboys, the Steelers were actually better. So it's something else, and it might be the cheerleaders. It might be.
I think it's I think it's everything around football. Like the Steelers, and I don't know if I'm right on this, but Steelers and Packers, they obviously have great fan bases, but those fan bases, they feel like the real football people. They love football. They eat, sleep, breathe football. The Cowboys fans, it's like I just said, you'll get my mom and sisters who don't give a rat's ass about football watching them. And then you'll have, the people local to Dallas or whatever. It feels like the Cowboys do it all around.
I feel that the people who like the Cowboys that live here know more and like the Cowboys more than the people who actually live in the Fort Worth, Dallas market. You think of a Cowboys fan that lives out there and you think like what you're saying, Zander, they're more for the glitz and the glamour and everything that surrounds them. And then you have these jamokes that live out here that are these passionate fans. They're like, dude, they don't care about this team as much as you do.
Philadelphia and being Cowboy. I never understood that one.
No. I don't know. I can't like, why did who would the hockey team be? I don't know. I guess
the national hockey team.
Yeah, it's not the Canadians. They haven't won in forever.
There's not really one that's like you would say the Yankees, the Cowboys, the Lakers. There's never really been a hockey team.
I can't explain the Cowboys and Lakers. Like, why did the Lakers become bigger than the Celtics? I can't.
Well, I think a lot of the at the time we talk about Nielsen, those teams were on television all the time, and when you were on TV back then, it wasn't like now where you could turn a game on every single night of the week and see some mid-level Cleveland playing Detroit. Back then, you only saw LA playing because they were Showtime. A lot of it is, and look, the society that we live in, believe it or not, has been taken over by marketing. They just market to you and tell you what you think you want to believe and hear, and then we think that's what things are. Marketing and branding is what has taken over sports way back in the day. The Cowboys marketed and branded themselves as America's team. The Lakers, Showtime, and people were drawn to this marketing. Like, whoa, Showtime, look at this. This is kind of glitz. The Celtics didn't market themselves. It's why, I know a lot of people hate this, the process was a thing because they actually marketed it. They said, we're going to suck, and we're going to tell you we're going to suck, and this is what we're going to call it. And people were like, hey, you told me you're going to suck? I appreciate that. I'm on board. If you market it the right way to the right people, you can make them believe anything.
Yeah, too many people are fools, Mike.
Yeah, well, that's true. Mike, what's your expectation for this team this year? I mean, you just talked about the potential of like, it's Ricky Bobby, and it does feel like it's been that, especially these last 4 or 5 years because they've been so good. Do you think we're coming down from that? Are we on the other side of Mount Everest here on our way down with this team, or do you still think that window is wide open for them to really be one of the best in the league?
Well, we had the other day, we had the lines for every game this year for Philadelphia. They are favored in 13 games, which would suggest what? They would be 13-4. So, no, I don't think the expectations are down, change. And one of the things I've been arguing is this A.J. Brown trade, that if they're getting a 2028 pick, that to me does a disservice to a team that has Super Bowl aspirations, that you're not getting somebody to help this 2026 roster. And I don't know if Howie Roseman looks at this roster and says, this is the best roster in football. They might say we're one of the best rosters in football. But if you have A.J. Brown as an asset and you're trying to win the 2026 Super Bowl, I still behoove them to try to get a player to help this team out. Now, that said, they're a high-level contender. So my expectations are, yes. I think, John, when I popped in, I caught the back end of what you were saying. We were talking about this on Monday. What did they say? Wednesday? Monday. We had Sal Powell on Monday show, and we were talking about how we both think the defense this year will be better than last year's defense. And if that's the case, the offense, which nobody can comment on, nobody knows if this offense is going to be good, better, different, whatever. We think it's going to be different, but we don't know that it can be executed the way that it needs to be. If their offense, though, is slightly better than last year, this team should win more games, you would think, right?
Yeah. Well, I often say, look, you got two guys, really three, but to me, because they played a lot, Cam and Landon, if they were healthy, what do you win? 11 turns into 13, probably. Two guys. And I don't put Lane in that category because his injury was significant. He missed half the season. If he's out there, add him. You're telling me they're not winning 13 games? That's why I look at the overreaction.
I think their schedule sets up pretty nicely for them.
Oh, yeah, it's much easier than last year's schedule. Much easier.
Well, they do play the NFC West, so there's 3 really good teams there. And they play the AFC South. Why not high profile? Jacksonville won 13 games last year. Houston won, 11 or 12 games and has really good defense. Carolina won the division. I know they were less than 500, but they gave the Rams everything they could ask for in that playoff game, and you would think they're going to improve.
Now, but everybody's plugged into the same division. That's why I'm like, everybody else has got to play those teams too. So we often talk about the first place schedule. It's down to 3 games where it matters. And the 3 first place teams they have to play are Carolina, Pittsburgh, and who's the third one I'm missing? Why can't I think of the third one? It'll come to me. But, if you look at Dallas, the second place team, they got to play Tampa and Baltimore. Now, if you would have told me who's better, Tampa or Carolina right now, I would bet on Tampa. If you had said who's going to be better, Baltimore or Pittsburgh, I'm going to bet on Baltimore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not even looking at the strength of the schedule as much. Well, but the fact that you're right, they have to play
Chicago, NFC North. Chicago's the other one. And so I say, and Dallas has to play Green Bay. If you said, is Green Bay going to be better than Chicago? Maybe, maybe not. But I bet on Green Bay. I bet on Green Bay over Chicago.
Well, that stretch there, they play the Bears and the Rams back to back. Rams at home, Bears on a Sunday night. That's a tough little pocket right there. The 3 home games late in the year helps you, but you're also playing Seattle and I think Houston,
Indy. It's Indy, Seattle, Houston in that order. That's a tough stretch, even though they're all at Lincoln Financial Field.
Right. Being at home helps, but that's a tough stretch of games. You have 3 straight division games. Never something that, division games are always a little different. So you have Dallas, Washington, the Giants right before the bye. I'm in the camp that I remember having this conversation probably at the same point last year, right after the draft, going into OTAs. And you're like, man, the Giants might not win a lot of games, but they're going to be a pain in the ass like that. And their defense hasn't been what we really thought it was going to be. Some of the draft picks have not materialized for them. So now they go out and get Reese, another draft pick. You're like, man, at some point, this defense has got to start clicking. And you wonder, and offensively, I think I heard they had the lead of double digits 6 times in the fourth quarter last year and lost all 6 games. Something to that effect. Like, you would think that Harbaugh maybe manages the game a little bit better and maybe they win some of those games. So I think the Giants are going to be much more of a pain in your ass than they've been.
I'm iffy on Jackson Dart. I'm sorry. I just am.
My biggest problem with Dart is can he stay healthy?
Yeah, and I just don't like the game outside of the off-schedule stuff. I just don't.
To me, it's the NFL. You're going to have some tough games. The reason why, like, the 3 best teams, in my opinion, the Eagles have to play this season are the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Texans. And they play them all at Lincoln Financial Field.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned the first place, second place thing. Dallas, to me, has a tougher road than the Eagles. That's just lucky. So for people that complain about the schedule, the bye week, week 10, I think that's phenomenal.
I like it.
Play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 before and 8 after. I mean, I like, it's the NFL. You can talk yourself into losing to anybody, but this is every year. This schedule is great, in my opinion, for the Eagles.
And a lot of people complained, I've heard, about them not getting the bye after the London game. But the team can elect to not take the bye, right?
Yeah. And by the way, I think that's a trap game because you're coming back from London, which is a difficult trip against a difficult team. Jacksonville's a good team. And you're playing Carolina. That should be an easy one at home. But then who's next? Dallas. So you're coming off London. You're thinking about Dallas. Right in the middle is Carolina. I think that's a trap game. And I think the other trap game, you play at Arizona, which is going to be one of the worst teams in football. That's kind of a gimme on the road. And then Seattle on December 19th. In between is Indianapolis, which is a good team. But again, it's at home at least. But you're probably going to be looking at the reigning Super Bowl champions and say, all right, here they come. Let's prove something. And you might look past Indy, but you never know. This is the NFL. Maybe Seattle stinks. Who knows? Maybe all the Sam Darnold haters come to fruition.
The Eagles were dogs in 4 games. Do you know which 4 they would be?
Dallas on the road.
On Thanksgiving, Rams early in Philly.
Rams in Philly. The Eagles are a dog in that game.
Well, that shocks me, but I'm not a big fan.
I think the Rams are the best. The Rams are.
I think the Rams are better, but I mean, the Eagles have had their number. I mean,
the Rams might be favored in every game this year for them. I mean, they're at least as it stands right now until things change.
The Eagles are dogs at Chicago.
Ooh, I don't like that.
Yeah, that shocks me.
At the Rams, at Dallas, and at San Francisco.
That makes sense.
Well, I think,
wait, are they at? No, they're not at LA, right?
LA's here.
LA's here.
But every other game's on the road, which I get. You get 3 points. Like I think Seattle and Houston are much tougher than at San Francisco. But San Francisco beat them in the playoffs. So,
well, I've said all the time about the Rams is you keep beating them, you keep beating them, you keep beating them. At some point, you block a field goal in the last play of the game to beat them the last time. At some point, they are like, okay, we're better than that team. We are going to beat that team. I don't think that they are demoralized.
I don't think there's any doubt the Rams think they're better than the Eagles. I think the Rams are better than the Eagles. But, hey, they got to prove it.
Yeah, I've been getting the spreads for every division. I have not got the NFC West yet. So I can't see if the Rams, how often they're favored.
And that's why now the hype, and at Mike Gill Show, make sure you follow Mike on the X platform, YouTube channel as well, at Mike Gill Show, the Sports Best 2 to 6, drive time every day if you're local, 97.3 down the shore. I will say that this, the Rams Eagles thing is, I'm with you. The worm's going to turn. Is it really going to turn at home on October 4th, though? I could see the Eagles winning that game. You know where it's going to come? In the playoffs when it hurts. That's when the loss is.
No, I disagree, John. I think they'll get you in the regular season, and then they'll be overhyped, and then you return the favor.
All right. So there's the positive. You're going to be popular, Mike.
And the one thing, you talked about Seattle. They lost Kenneth Walker. That was a big factor for them in the run game. When they made their run, he was a big part of that. I know they drafted a running back in the first round, and a lot of times those guys walk right in and can play right off the bat. But I think Seattle, that's something to keep. And they lost their offensive coordinator. We saw in Philly what that means when you got to go to a new offense, and now you have a new running back. So I think Seattle maybe takes a step back. Their defense is very good. However, Woolen, though, not there. Who's, obviously here now.
I got Josh Jobe. They don't need him.
We got Josh Jobe, Alabama's finest. And then San Francisco, remember, they beat you here last year, and they were not healthy at all last year.
I still can't believe they won that game.
That team will walk into the season significantly healthier than they were a season ago, and they made the playoffs and beat you on the road. I don't think people are paying enough attention to San Francisco as a contender in the NFC.
Yeah, they're good. My question with them is, can they stay healthy because they're an older roster? But I do think they're a good team. Yeah,
definitely fair.
So
it looks like, by the way, Stephon Diggs could end up with Washington potentially or Baltimore.
Man,
It's one of the
he's
two
a Maryland guy. He's a DMV guy, so that
Yeah,
doesn't
so
surprise me.
if Diggs ends up, and I know like
Is he
sometimes these
making the
older
impact? Yeah, I don't know if he's
Hey,
making.
look, he had a good year with the Patriots last
Yeah, he
year.
did.
You know?
He just keeps producing. Now he's a pain in the ass off the field, but it's a hell of a player.
Well,
Hell of
you
a
have him
route
in
runner.
McLaurin. You put him in McLaurin. I know they're two older guys, so you wonder when that thing just goes, because McLaurin was hurt last year as well. But I don't know. I think the NFC East is significantly more interesting this year than it's been.
Stephon Diggs had 85 catches for 113 yards last year, and he only had 102 targets. 85 of 102. That dude can play, man. Now he is getting old. And you got to deal with some of the off the field crap, but he just got off on his accusation that his very attractive chef made against him. So
if anybody can fan off the field nonsense, it would be a Josh Harris led organization.
That's true.
All right, Mike. Good stuff, man. We appreciate Mike Gill joining us here today. Follow him at Mike Gill Show. Listen to him at 97.3 ESPN down the shore, the best show in all of New Jersey. And as Mike pointed out earlier, you can listen to that thing from anywhere. Mike, thanks for doing it, brother. We appreciate it. We'll catch up with you next week.
See ya.
Later.
Thanks, brother.
Mike Gill joining us right here on Birds 365. Great show there. Great segment with Mike Gill. Always good.
I got an update. Unfortunately, BLG is having internet issues. His internet is down.
Oh, no.
It's not supposed to be restored until 11:30 a.m.
Oh, he must have got the dreaded message from.
He did. He sent me the message. Yeah. So looks like we're not going to get BLG, but these things happen. Unfortunately, that's happened to me. I get those messages all the time.
Yeah, right now.
Maybe it'll pop back and it'll pop on, but we're unlikely. He doesn't have it right now. So
yeah, normally when they give you the time, John, normally it's not happening.
Yeah,
normally it's you got to wait till after the time for it to happen. But we'll see if we got BLJ. If not, all good. We got plenty to talk about here, John. I do want to talk a little defense. I got the landscapers going crazy out there. I'm not sure if that's coming through the mic. If it is, I apologize. But still plenty to talk about, John, with this football team. I thought Mike had some interesting points there as well about the team. What do you make of those 4 games? He said that they are underdogs in, Johnny Mac.
Well, yeah, I'm not a betting guy, so I don't pay much attention to lines, but it does surprise me that, like, I don't believe in Chicago as much as other people. That one doesn't surprise me, though, because they're coming off I shouldn't say surprise, not a big surprise. You know, the Rams being a favorite in Lincoln Financial Field, that surprises me a little bit. Like if the Eagles were favored by 1, they generally give you 3 points for being the home team. So really, they're saying the Rams are better. That wouldn't surprise me. But the fact that they're actually saying they're the favorite, yeah, I'm a little shocked by that. And then at San Francisco, I'm very shocked by. I just don't remember. I got San Francisco right. Everybody was down on San Francisco. I said, look, they're going to play the 4th place schedule. They're going to be a good team. They're going to make it playoffs, but they're not going to be that good. And now I think they're good. They're an okay team. They're a good team, potential playoff team, but they're not great. They got a lot of holes. And then what was the 4th game? Oh, at Dallas. Makes sense on Thanksgiving. So again, if they were favored by 1 over the Rams and they indicated, hey, the Rams are better, but the game's in Philadelphia, I would understand that. But being a flat out favorite, that kind of shocks me.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of see it. Do you feel, John, I'll ask you what I asked Mike. Do you feel as though, and maybe this is an indication of it, I know you're not a betting man, but I think it highlights maybe potentially what the perspectives of a team are, whether they're accurate or not, and I'm sure they will drastically change by the time these games actually happen. But do you feel like, John, that maybe we're on the other side of Mount Everest, I think was my phrase I used here with this team. I mean, you've talked about how successful this team has been really in the last 10 years since you started covering them, even in a big way in the last 6 years with the Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni era. Do you feel like they're on the other side, or do you feel like they could still hang out up top if they make some good decisions and do the right things?
Well, they're definitely a contender, but I do think they're descending as an offense. I think they're still ascending as a defense. So, but are they a significant contender right now, today? Yes, they're one of the best 5 teams in football. So yeah, they can do it. But I don't. We're nearing the end of this group as an offense together for different reasons. Again, it could be injuries with Lane retiring, Dallas moving on, Saquon potentially moving on, and Jaylen. I mean, to me, this like if Jaylen and Saquon even more than Jaylen are going to be here in 2027. Just got to remember what year we're in. They got to have big years. They got to have big. Saquon has to have a big year, or he's done. Jaylen, there's more complications with. But when we talk about that future first round pick and not everything being, oh, this is what they got for AJ Brown. About the larger mosaic. Don't think for a second Howie hasn't thought about, hey, we might need an extra first round pick, a few extra to go get a quarterback in the next 3-year span. Don't think those conversations haven't been had, because he's not doing his job if those conversations haven't been had.
Where do you think Jeffrey Lurie comes into that?
Same thing. I mean, behind closed door is not for public consumption. That's where you have the difficult conversation. You got to have the difficult conversations.
Does it feel to you, though, like Jeffrey's affinity for Jaylen is more so than maybe any other player?
I think Jeffrey's affinity for Jaylen is about how he represents the organization. But ultimately, if you don't perform on the field, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but if you're Jeffrey, and now maybe he doesn't think like this because he has been a very, he's quick to react, which has its pros and its cons. But maybe he looks in and is like, what do you mean? It's been the winningest 5 years in our history. Jaylen's doing fine on the field. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out. I know the offense is underperforming, but I wonder if Jeffrey's living.
Now, people tell me, and generally I'm not. I'm either at games or I'm not paying attention to broadcast because I don't care. But people tell me that when they flash to Jeffrey Lurie, he looks pretty not great when the offense is struggling.
Yeah, but to be fair, Jeffrey kind of always looks miserable in the box. It's kind of just his resting face.
Well, all right. That's why I'm not,
He definitely looks miserable.
Ultimately, I don't think he's happy with this offense. So, I mean, he's a part of it. He can blame it on other people, and he has already, and he scapegoated other people. But if it keeps continuing through, all right, you scapegoated who you scapegoated. Kevin Patullo, Scott Leler. Jalen Hurts is still working out with Scott Leler. Kevin got another job, so he can't work out with him. Who knows? At some point the rubber's got to hit the road. If Sean Mannion's not successful and Parks Frazier as the quarterback's coach and Josh Grizzard, and all right, what do you do next? Blame them guys? I guess you can. Blame obviously Nick would be the main guy. But how far can you go with that? Then you're going to bring in another coach with another coaching staff and say it's not Jalen's fault?
I don't know, John.
Are you prepared to go that far?
I am certainly not, but I would assume we'll be taking quite a bit of shit from all of our listeners because I don't know. Some people I think understand that, but a lot of people, man, keep telling me they think it's all the coaching. It's all the coaching. I've heard that over and over again.
Well, you're putting a lot of You're putting a lot on the guys who don't step on the field. Like if it were, think about the silliness of that conference. Get that it's all the coaching. That means you just get the best coaching staff, and you're great moving forward. You're good. Who gives a shit about the players? I mean, that's just dumb. No offense to anybody who says that. I mean, Vic Fangio, the first thing he says, I like great players because they make me look smart. And Vic is a great coach. Vic is a legitimately great coach that nobody is going to dispute. Literally 100% of the people are going to say that.
And he doesn't always have a great.
Nope. Long history to look through. He's had defenses in the 20s. You don't have players. You can't just flip a switch.
To what degree do you think it is the coaching?
I
don't know what metric you want to use. If you want to go coaches or percentages or what.
I mean, I think with this offense, I think the biggest criticism of the coaching staff is how risk averse it is. It's like it's a tough tightrope to balance, but I do think there's unintended consequences to everything, and you got to find. They tried to do it in 2024 and they were turning it over too much and they scaled it way back, and I think that's really impacted the passing offense. But what do you want? What do you want? I mean, they won 16-17 to close out 2024. It wasn't pretty in 2024. No matter how people want to, how much revision they want to put to their history, it wasn't pretty from a passing game perspective. So I obviously everybody's happy when you win the Super Bowl and the confetti's coming down, and they ignore the issues that existed. And all of a sudden the next season comes and they go, well, we won 16-17. Let's do it again. And it doesn't work. And all of a sudden you got to throw the ball and you can't throw the ball. Forget about AJ. Jalen Hurts warned you of that. The old, if you don't use it, do you lose it conversation he had. Well, they lost it. So, and how do you get it back? Even if they can get it back, I'll tell you one thing, one, they're going to turn it over more. Just the nature of it. So be prepared for that. It's not an easy conversation to have, because, and then, it's, the impact the running game had on the passing game in 2024 versus 2025.
Right.
Like the impact that the crappy offense in 2025 had on the defense.
Do you think we're coming up on the hardest needle to thread for Howie Roseman in his career? I mean, he's obviously had a long career, and he's obviously gone through a bit. He's changed quarterbacks and coaches. I mean, been to multiple Super Bowls, but it feels like, John, with this roster crunch, with this cap crunch, I mean, even just thinking about three guys on defense, Cooper Quinion and Jalen Carter, coming up, is this going to be one of the hardest things for him to thread?
Well, I mean, you always got to get the draft right. So, Mekhi Lemon, if you got to get it right. Eli Stowers, you got to get it right. Markel Bell, you got to get it right. Not immediately, but you got to get it right if you want to continue on at this pace. One thing, it was interesting. I was going to bring this up when Mike was on and we were talking about AJ. I've been through this twice before. I talk about covering Randy Moss all the time. You know, the Eagles, the Vikings drafted Troy Williamson to replace AJ, conflating everything, going Jody on everything. Troy Williamson to replace Randy Moss, which I laugh out loud because that's the way it worked. And then when the Titans traded AJ to the Eagles, let's just take Treylon Burks to replace AJ Brown. Think about what Howie's done. Yeah, he drafts Mekhi and Lemon, but he also trades for Dontavian Wicks. He also signs Hollywood Brown. That's the brilliance of Howie Roseman. Like, he layered that thing. He carpet bombed that thing. Are all three going to work out? No. Maybe one does.
All right.
As opposed to putting all your eggs in the Troy Williamson basket or all your eggs in the Treylon Burks basket.
John,
that's where Howie sets himself apart.
Yeah, I agree.
And when that's why I say when people will get upset, like he's already preparing for life after Jalen Hurts. And I don't mean that to say he's moving on. I mean it to say in case he doesn't perform, he's already preparing the contingency.
Right. Exactly. Which is what a good GM would do.
Exactly. And anybody who's upset by that is nuts. Rather than just sitting back and saying, well, I hope it works. No. You're preparing in case it doesn't work.
It's a good breakdown there, Johnny Mac. John, I got a tough question for you here. Of the 22 projected starters for the Philadelphia Eagle, and we'll have to think about this once I ask it. How many of them do you think have an above 50% chance of being gone from the Eagles after this season?
Oh, above 50%. Well, let's go down the list. Jalen Hurts, I would say no.
Where would you put Jaylen? That's obviously the biggest name on the list.
75% he's here. It's very difficult to move on from a high-profile quarterback. Saquon, I would put over 50.
I agree on Saquon.
That he won't be back. So we'll use 11 personnel. So you have 3 receivers. Devontae will be here. Mekhi will be here. Dontavian will be here. So no issues there. Tight end Dallas, I would expect to move on. Jordan will be here. Landon is the interesting one. He's probably 50-50. It's all health related.
I was going to say he might fall right at the number.
Cam will be back. He seems okay. Tyler should be back. No, Tyler sorry, this
gone, right?
Yeah, the final year of his rookie contract. So he's over 50 to be gone. I was doing it more in my mind of player evaluation.
Right.
And Lane, he's another. He's probably 50, right on the, he's, if I were to bet, I'd go over 50. This will be his last year. But he's probably right at 50-50.
Wait, who was that? Sorry, I missed it.
Lane.
Oh, Lane
Johnson.
Me too. That's kind of where I'm at.
And then defensively, I mean, most of the guys are locked in. Jordan Davis. Now, are you going to extend Jalen Carter? I would put at, well over 50. So Morrow will likely be gone. Just you can't pay everybody. Final year of his rookie deal. Grenard's under contract for multiple years. You still have the 5th year with Nolan. We're counting him as a starter.
Yeah.
So he'll be back. Zach Bond's got 1 more year. But, if he has a down, a lot of people down on Zach Bond. I heard people, he had a good year last year.
Down? Why are they down on Zach Bond?
Because he wasn't as good last year as he was in 2024. I'm like, that's kind of my issue with Quinyon and Cooper this year.
I don't even know. I don't even know if that's true though. Like, obviously it wasn't to the same level, but I view it as like level of player. Like, you're not going to have the same output as you did when you have a career
Exactly.
year,
That's
but
what
he
happened.
was still a great linebacker.
Yeah,
It's not like
top
we had
10
we have
easily.
a problem at linebacker. I don't think anybody said that as much as once. So
Easily
I
top
don't
10
really get
all-fall
that.
linebacker. Just because he didn't produce at the same level with the splash plays.
Right. Yeah, I still feel like he was a strength in the defense to me.
So he and Jihad, well, you know, obviously Rick Woolen's on a prove-it deal, so the everything's evaluation with him. And by the way, if he plays well, I would put him over 50% to be a one and done from the perspective of, well, if he plays well, he's going to be too costly. If he plays poorly, you probably don't want him back. And then I would put Marcus Epps, if we're using him as the placeholder starter, more than 50% gone. So a few guys on defense, but not many.
All right. Pretty good exercise there. I mean, I think I'm in lock with most of what you said there. I think the Jalen Hurts number was interesting at 25. I think that was right about where I would put it. The question there would be, if they do come up short this year, John, how quickly does that number shift? Because like you said, feels like it's going to be hard to keep blaming coaches. I mean, I know it's easy right now, but how many more can they go through with that? You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, if it goes poorly and they win, which I can't imagine, they'd be a bad team under 500. But I guess the floor would be 9-8 and miss the playoffs. And you fire Nick. Are you really going to start over with a new head coach and a new coaching staff? I think that would make it more likely that they would totally change and shift to a different direction. But you still have to trade them, and you have to see what value there is. I would think in a quarterback desperate league, there would still be significant value. So when you talk about accumulating first round picks, you also have to have the next answer at quarterback. So who's the next answer? Now, next year's supposed to be very deep quarterback draft. Maybe the Eagles fall in love with one of those guys.
Yeah, but here's the other thing I was thinking about, John. And I know fans won't like this conversation, anything related to the quarterback they don't like if it's not praised. But do you think Howie's maybe shifted on what he thinks he needs to spend for a quarterback? And what I mean is, he did just take a quarterback in the second round and go and win a Super Bowl and go to 2. Do you think maybe he shifted from, well, I better get the top pick so I can get the quarterback at the top, and versus, let me get the right player in the right spot at the right value and build everything around him, and that will lead us to the best chance at success, as opposed to, needing to get the cream of the crop from every class?
No, I think it's much harder to do what he has done, the latter, and put together
Right.
these super rosters, so to speak.
In other words, still the best way to do it is getting the guy. Okay.
Now you got to believe, though. It's not like no offense to Las Vegas, and maybe they do believe in Fernando Mendoza. I mean, just because I don't doesn't mean they don't. And by don't believe, I don't mean that he can't be a good quarterback. I mean that he's a true number one overall future franchise quarterback. I don't believe that's his ceiling as a player. Could he be above average? Sure. But I'm not taking that guy number one overall. So who's that guy that they believe in? Who's the Carson Wentz? That's what we're talking about. They got him at 2, obviously. Does that guy exist? Is it Arch Manning? Is it Elijah Moore? Is it CJ Carr or one of these other quarterbacks in college? Don't know. I don't believe in any of those guys at that level. So it's like, you're almost in purgatory when you have a good quarterback, but when you think that quarterback can no longer lead you at an elite level, because it's hard to get better. And in the short term, the Eagles won't get better. But you have to have these difficult conversations. I mean, like I said, you have a group, you say, how long can you blame the coaches? Well, I think fans can blame the coaches a long time. They're always going to blame the coaches all the time because it's easy to blame the coaches.
Oh, I mean,
you're not buying coaches' jerseys. You're buying.
I hate conversations that aren't grounded in reality. It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. But
I mean, look, here's Mel. He says Sean Mannion has more of a chance to be the head coach in 2027 than Jaylen has of being traded. Mello, I want you to think about what would have to happen.
That's absurd. It's not going to happen.
If Sean Mannion shows he's good enough to be the head coach of the team, that means the team is going to be good. You believe they're going to move on from Nick Sirianni after a successful year and his 6th straight successful season? I mean, come on, dude. I mean, doesn't 2 + 2 = 4, right? Not there, it doesn't. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like people create these delusions. I'm not trying to criticize anybody, but it does feel like there's delusions that are created.
That is a delusional take. It's fair. It's like, yeah, for him to succeed, the team has to succeed. Now, I don't think there's a bunch of, no offense, but there's a bunch of cultured fans out there who are going to see a 9-8 team. Oh, but Sean Mannion did a great job. There might be 10 or 12 or 15, very small sample size, but as a group, he does well. The Eagles do well. He either leaves to get a head coaching job or sticks around as the offensive coordinator. The Eagles do poorly. Nick's probably fired and he's fired. Nobody's coming in and keeping him. Yeah. They're not going to say, oh, I'm going to fire Nick Sirianni, but hire the offensive coordinator on his staff that just underachieved. Yeah, that's delusional.
Do you think there's a chance that Nick Sirianni gets worn out here? I know he's been. You talk about how politically savvy he's been, but I don't know, John. Like you get it. You're a grown man. I mean, when you have to live a certain way or act a certain way or be a certain way for a long time, it could take it out of you a little bit.
Oh, I think he's already frustrated a little bit, at least,
but not enough to walk away. Obviously,
no. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's like, basically, what the fuck do I have to do? Basically,
right.
But I mean, there's not too many jobs where you can make whatever he's making. So, he's got a family, obviously, that comes into it as well, but there's worse jobs to have. But it's like being the president. You see the aging. It's like, I'm not comparing the jobs, but I mean, look at Nick when he got here versus Nick now. He's showing the effects. It's a lot of shit to go through. Think about just from the fire, you got to fire one of your best friends. Why? Because a bunch of people that have no idea what they're talking about thinks he's to blame. You got to fire him. Now he's been closer to other people. He's pointed, DK McDonald was in his, a groomsman. We talk about weddings. He's very close to DK McDonald, had to fire him for some freaking reason. And he's under the radar. Yeah, that stuff I'm sure affects people personally. But I mean, everybody's in coaching understands the industry, understands. I mean, these guys are nomads. Take a look at some of the veteran coaches and how many stops they've had. And at the highest level, we'll use Vic because, Vic's a Hall of Fame assistant.
Yeah, literally, probably the best defensive coordinator in the NFL.
So here's Vic, since he broke through with the Philadelphia Stars in 1984 in the USFL. New Orleans, Carolina, Indianapolis, Houston, Baltimore, Stanford had to go back to college for 1 year, San Francisco, Chicago, Denver, Miami, finally the Eagles. It's a lot of cities, and that's at the highest level of success. It's a lot of cities. And, Vic was probably the best defensive coordinator in the game in San Francisco. So you're talking 2011 to 2014. And then he went to Chicago, where he's the best defensive coordinator from 2015 to 2018. Now, why did he leave San Francisco to go to Chicago? I don't know. I've never talked to him about that. My presumption is that Chicago obviously gave him more money, but I do know how much he loves San Francisco. But he still left. Now, he left Chicago because he got a head coaching job, so that makes sense. And then he went to Miami for the 1 year before he came to the Eagles. Even in the time, and that's about 15 years in the time where he's been the best defensive mind in football, you're talking about 5 different cities.
A lot is up in the air with this team, John. In a way, it's exciting. In a way, it keeps you on the on the edge of your chair, if you will. But at the same time, I think it's brought some angst to the conversation, especially for Eagle fans out there. But I think it's all on the table, John. To me, that's how I see it. To me, everything is on the table. Quarterback, coach, everything.
When you have the expectations of this team, almost everything is always on the table. Now, there's a little bit different. Obviously, when you sign big money deals, there's probably 2-3 year run where you're confident. But everybody's, I mean, look at AJ. We're even talking about Jalen Carter now. 2 years ago, we're like, oh, he's going to make $40 million, blah, blah. Now it's like, oh, do you want to extend Jalen Carter?
Right. John, you're right. Another thing that Johnny Mac says that is so true is, man, it moves quick, football. Doesn't it, man? It really does. A lot can change very quickly.
Oh, yeah. Because, it doesn't stand still. And it could be for a variety of reasons. Could be injuries. Could be off the field issues. Could be one of the great Parcells probably had more great quotes for coaches, at least learning. And one of his ones I always talk about, he said, he's talking to his guys. So his assistants that became head coach, he would give them sort of a list of things to expect. And one of his things where there are 5 or 6 things that happen every day. Think about that. 5 or 6 things that happen every day in professional football that you don't want to happen.
Right.
And it could
you can't plan for.
Yeah. And it could be the obvious, but it'd be lesser, some personnel guy wants to leave or somebody's doing some shit off the field. It could be 100 different things. But he said, if you can't handle that, don't be a head coach, because that's what you're signing up for.
And that's why Nick Sirianni's aging like the damn president. Guy looked he looked young and hip and new when they hired him. Now he's looking grizzly and old for Nick Sirianni. But hey, listen, he's done a good job. As much as fans don't want to admit it, Nick Sirianni
still looks good. Hey, man, Nick still looks pretty good. But yeah, he's aged.
Yeah, no, he's aged, no doubt. John, I got to tell you a funny story. A little bit of a different topic, but a funny story. You got me in trouble, my friend. So I was in a little bit of a disagreement. Okay, and I pulled out the GPS analogy. It couldn't have fit better. It couldn't have fit better for this disagreement here. And I pulled it out, And I got hit back with, "You get that from John McMullen on your show." I hear him say it all the time. And I'm like, oh, shit, I got caught. I got caught. So, but no, it did apply perfectly. So I wanted to tell you that story because the good old trusted GPS analogy is one of my favorites you've given me, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, well, it's a good one. It was Stouty, but the ultimate GPS quote out there. This when he was on Kelsey's podcast, that was phenomenal.
Yeah, that was a great example of
people
it.
Just read what they wanted to read, and they picked out one point and went there. The ultimate example.
Yep. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. All right, good stuff, everybody. I want to thank everybody for being here. Lots up in the air with this Eagles team. Good conversation there with Johnny Mac about what's coming here with this team. I know a lot of people, John, a lot of people in this chat, Nick Sirianni could get blown out. They're doing a disservice to Jaylen with the revolving door. If Mannion is successful, some people in this chat, not just Mello, think that he would be the
that's not. It's not even the point that could he be better? Yeah, sure. Not anything's possible. There's no path to it.
For him
That's
to be
what the people. Coach. There's no path to it. Either they succeed as a team, or they don't succeed as a team. There is no path to Nick Sirianni other than in season. So if you want to blow out a coach in season. First of all, you're going to be having a very difficult season. That's not going to happen because this team's too good. But if you want to blow somebody out and then elevate him to be the head coach, now, are you really going to elevate Nick Sirianni, Sean Mannion to be a head coach in his third year as a pro coach? And remember, if you're firing Nick Sirianni, things are not going well. So you're really going to hire Sean Mannion to be the head coach, and then he's going to turn things around like Donnie Baseball and the Phillies, and everybody's going to be kumbaya. There's no path to it. There was no path to it. Either he succeeds, the Eagles succeed, and Sean succeeds,
right?
Or he's out with Nick, basically.
This is where I agree with Darlene here, John, who says, I think the Mannion comment should say he has more of a chance to be the head coach of some teams than the Eagles moving on from Jaylen. That I agree with.
Yeah, if they go win a Super Bowl, he's probably going to be a head coach that quickly.
Man, will he get one that quick? That would be quick. But yeah,
well, timing's always an issue. Remember, if you're playing into February, most of the teams that are hiring coaches make their decision before that. But there's usually one straggler, like Kellen and the Saints, who's willing to wait. So I, if they go win a Super Bowl, yeah, I bet he'd be a head coach next year, but not in Philadelphia.
How many years, John, do you think it takes for a quarterback to fully develop? Because someone in here, this guy says the path to Mannion becoming head coach is finishing the development of Jalen Hurts.
I mean,
is that ship sailed? Like, is that over now?
No, I think, Tom Brady will tell you he's getting better. He's playing better at 40 than he was at 33 or 34. I mean,
yeah, but the curve changes. With Tom, it wasn't. I don't know. I feel like Tom's just an extreme example.
Well, he is an extreme. But the more you play, the better you should get. I mean.
But that's if you play the way Tom plays, which is a statue in the pocket. Because then, in theory, right, you get better at dissecting the defense. You get better at seeing what's coming. You get better at being one step ahead of everybody else. All right, perfect. But that's not Jalen's style. Jalen is a
no, but it's not like even at a different style, you never stop learning.
No, but your physical attributes change.
No, yeah. So, I mean, that's different, but you're not stopping the development of learning the position.
That's true.
Which I don't think ever stops. But, finishing, the same thing, you're never finished. So he's not finishing anything. So it depends how you look at it, but you can always get better as a player. from a technique and a fundamental standpoint, and with quarterback processing and all that stuff as well. So, but even for, a wide receiver or tackle, you can always get better with technique and the fundamental stuff from year to year, and you usually do. That's why, Tim Irwin's one of my favorite stories. Became an agent. It's like a 17-year player, right tackle for the Vikings, and very good player. Not a great player, but very good player. Around for a long time. And then he was getting, he's aging out, and the Vikings drafted Corey Stringer. Sad story, and Corey was this incredibly talented first-round pick and athletic. But his first year, nothing close to Tim Irwin, who was just by year 17 knew every trick of the trade.
Right.
Knew how to hold people. I mean, he's honest. He's like, knew how to get away with shit. Just understood the game. And eventually Corey developed into a very good player, but it takes a while. So it doesn't matter what position, you can get better.
So with that being said, though, would you classify Jaylen as an ascending player, a descending player, a player that's currently in his prime?
That's better. I mean, is he ever going to be what he was in 2022? I mean, I would say descending right now because he seems to have taken part of his game out of the equation. Whoever is to blame for it.
See, my problem with that, John, is kind of draws back to the Tom's thing. I guess is just if you're descending, with the physical stuff or with the other parts of his game, the running and stuff like that. Well, then you have to be ascending at the same rate from the pocket and doing the other things super well. And I don't think we've seen that yet from Jaylen. And I don't know if it's his fault. Maybe the offense hasn't asked of it, but haven't seen that yet.
No, well, I mean, a lot of it, look, I think a lot of it is the risk-averse nature of the offense. I really believe that. Like, I think Jaylen could look better as a player. I don't know if the problem is, would they
win as many games?
Exactly.
Right?
Would they, like, he would look better personally, but would they be a better team? And that's a tough cut. That I can't answer that. But I think there's a better balance out there. And that's what they're obviously trying to find. But ultimately, if that's how you have to win, all right, we'll go win that way. But if you're going to go win that way, you got to put the +1 back into the running game. I'll tell you that. That's step number one. And I don't think he's incapable of doing it. I don't think he's descended from an athletic standpoint to that degree. I think that's whether it's his decision or an organizational decision or both, and it's more likely both, that's got to be back on the table, in my opinion.
It'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out this year, Johnny Mac. A lot of questions, a lot of answers we will get once the season begins. We are deep into May now, in the back half of May. So moving right along to the offseason. What are we, John? Just about 6 days away from OTAs, right? So we should hear from Mannion, but you think they're going to keep him until after June 1?
I've changed my thought. That was my early. Now I'm hearing whispers it will be soon.
Okay. All right. So they will give us Mannion. Maybe they do believe Mannion is a big boy and can handle the questions.
I said, even when I speculated, that could be the reason. I said it's silly. I mean, he is a big boy.
Yeah, right.
It's not that big of a deal.
You get trust him to run your offense. You should trust him to handle a press conference.
And he'll talk. And again, this is the way the Eagles have always done it. So, at least in recent history. I mean, they didn't give us Vic till OTAs,
right? And
obviously, Vic was
doesn't care.
Kellen Moore, they didn't give him till OTAs, and obviously he doesn't care. So, it's not I think they should do it when they hire the people, but that's a different conversation. But it's not out of the ordinary. They're not trying to hide Sean Mannion like some people have speculated.
And with OTAs next week, Johnny Mac, what should Eagle fans expect to learn from OTAs? I know it's not a whole lot.
You're going to hear a lot. You already rewind to 2024 and read all those Kellen Moore stories. You might have some people.
First style offense, all this goofy shit.
Yeah. Under center, the motion. All the same stuff. All the same stuff. You've already been through it. And you're going to go through it again. And you'll probably hear Jaylen talk about being in sponge mode. Sponging everything up before you shift and build around what's working. Which ultimately I think they'll do, but we'll see.
Do you think Jaylen is maybe being more politically savvy at this point? Maybe knows more is at stake here than there has been in the past?
I'm interested to find out what he's doing with Scott Leler. That's what I'm interested in doing. Because that doesn't seem politically savvy. Seems like there's two ways you can think of it. One is the Eagles, the Eagles just didn't have a spot for him. And, they wanted to hire both Sean Mannion and Josh Grizzard. So they had to give Grizzard elevated position. And he got passing game coordinator. So Parks Frazier, who's good friends with Nick, had to move off passing game coordinator. Got to keep him. And so they moved him to quarterbacks coach, and Scott's just the odd man out, and there's no bad blood. And the Eagles are being smarter than other teams, and they like the guy, and they have him working with Jalen Hurts to kind of skirt the rules, which would be illegal by NFL rules, but, wink, wink, Scott's on board. What does it hurt? That's the positive frame. The negative frame, it's a proxy war. And by that, I mean the Eagles are, saying, hey, Jalen's got to do this by hook or by crook. He's got to be under center more. He's got to do this. He's got to be open to it. And he reverts back by saying, hey, I'm going to work out with the guy you just fired because I want some damn continuity. That's the negative part of it. But it ain't normal. I can tell you that.
I still don't understand why they fired him.
Well, again, if you're bringing in Grizzard and you don't want to fire Parks Frazier and you're bringing in Jared Johnson as well, how many people you need?
I know, but at the very least, it does insinuate that they're not listening to Jaylen very much, if any at all. You think Jalen Hurts was like, yeah, get rid of Leffler for Parks Frazier, and then I'm going to go and hang out with Leffler in the offseason?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? It's like, all right.
It's not normal.
Back to the adding 2 + 2 here, Johnny Mac. That doesn't equal 4.
It's not normal. And is this an indication of a bigger disconnect? Which it may be.
I wonder what that would
result. Very Jalen Hurts is a very intentional person. He doesn't post things on Instagram that he doesn't want people taking notice of. And there he was with Scott Leler.
Scott got asked about it, right? That's what we were.
Yeah.
So I think Scott. I forget what Scott said. Scott had a good political.
Well, he was talking up Jalen's, work ethic and championship level player.
I think he phrased it like, yeah, we're just kind of continuing some stuff of where he liked what we were doing together on his mechanics or something, and where he was trying to continue where we left off or something. I forget what the exact quote was. I'm trying to find it.
Well, remember they started the under center stuff last year. And they just, decided to continue with it and more play action and more wide zone stuff. And they brought in experts in that style of offense. Is how I would describe it. So
right.
Again, maybe that's the best case scenario is, well, they just didn't have a spot for Scott Leler, but there's no ill will. And, you can sort of skirt the rules and work with somebody, to get better at the stuff you need to get better at, because Sean Mannion and Josh Grizzard and Parks Frazier and Jared Johnson aren't allowed to work with Jalen Hurts away from OTAs on all that's not permitted by league rules. So, the Eagles talk about winning outside. Maybe they're winning outside the margins. Maybe. But that's a very optimistic way to look at it. I doubt that's the case.
It's a good question, John, from one of our viewers for you. Curtis. What's up, Curtis? Thanks for being here. Curtis, one of our best supporters. He says this. What could Mannion do that would impress Johnny Mac? What would J-Mac like to see from him that would be positive?
It's all stuff that doesn't relate to scheme or X's and O's. It's all about, leadership and, how he handles a room and how he handles the players. A presence, intangible stuff. I mean, that's what coaching's about: leadership, about teaching, ultimately. That's what they are, teachers. So it's, I mean, people want to hear, well, I want to see this concept. I want to see this concept. I'm like, they're all running the same shit.
Right.
You got 13 people running Kyle's offense in the league. They're all running the same shit. Can you teach?
Is there anything schematically, just because we've talked about it so much, where we expect this change? Now, you've tempered that expectation here on Birds 365, I think rightfully so. But is there anything schematically that he could do that you think would be a worthy thing to add? Not turning Jaylen into Brock Purdy is something you've likened it to, often.
Well, that comes to the execution. Can you teach it? Can you teach it? You're here to teach what they started last season when they shifted. So, all the Kyle Shanahan stuff that we all talk about, the play action, the wide zone running game, all that stuff that they started doing last year when they shifted away from Stoutland in the running game and people got upset by, that's what they're going to continue this year with people that have a long history of doing it, or a longer history of doing it, than the guys that were trying to do it on the fly last year. So in theory, again, can you teach it? Can you execute it? So I've always, and people probably have gotten tired of this, but you're all judging play calls. You're not judging play calls. You're judging play results. So you're judging execution. That's what you should be judging. Can he teach it? Are the players executing what they're trying to run? It's what all offensive coordinators are judged on and should be judged on. I always bring up McVay, and again, everybody can look it up because the internet exists now. Just Google Sean McVay illusion of complexity. It'll give you an immense amount of knowledge. So what you think is so complex, he's running 7 to 10 different passing concepts by his own admittance.
With 14 versions of makeup.
Exactly. Just dressing it up in different ways with personnel and formations. That's it. Can you teach it?
Well, maybe do they need a fresh batch of that makeup maybe for Philly? Can Mannion do that? Can he provide that?
Well, they're
He
going to
struggle there.
they're trying to run a different style of offense. So they're trying to run. They hadn't been running Kyle Shanahan's style of offense. But you could argue that, you know, the guys had a lot of success doing it a different way, and now you're trying to change it in the prime of his career, in theory. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. That doesn't mean it can't work, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But their belief is they had to change, and they have changed, or they're trying to change. So, I mean, that's what the whole season's going to be about. But as far as, you know, I mean, Sean Mannion's going to be like every other coordinator you had. Two things. One, you're going to dislike him at times. And B, you're going to be excited when the Eagles have big plays. And they will have some big plays. But yeah, he's not some magic, you know. I've been here for 10 years covering this team on a day-to-day basis. 11. This will be 11. Eagles fans have hated every single coordinator at some point they've had, or play caller.
Yeah, that's not changing.
It's not changing.
John, I don't know if this is, I view you as far more than just a reporter. I listen to a lot of reporters. I read a lot of their work. I don't know of another reporter that has the type of football knowledge that you have. I really don't, especially in this city. Now, I don't know if you take pride in that, but I would if I were you. I mean, you know the game. It's one thing to report on the game. It's another thing to actually know and understand the game. I think that's why people like the show so much.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, I you know, that's.
I mean, I learn a shit ton on almost every single episode, John, from talking to you.
Well, and everything I've learned is from coaches I've talked to, you know. But you got to be open to listening to what they're saying.
Right.
Because there are some things I think, and I go, and then I get an explanation. I go, oh, okay. You know, but, yeah, that just comes from like, and I do, and I say all the time, and there's some other guys like Pacheco I always talk about all the time. It's very, has a lot of football knowledge.
Yeah, he's another great football guy. Yep.
Caden, as a young guy, you know, has a lot of football knowledge for being so young. But I you know, the dumbest coach. So like, I think people would say over, and it's completely unfair, Sean Desai, because he's made into a joke. Like, I don't know, 10% of football Sean Desai knows. You know, so you can't buy into the dumb narratives that so-and-so is stupid and this and that.
Right.
You got to be willing to learn what they say. And McVay's a great one to learn from because he's honest. But yeah, it's all thanks to the coaches I've been around, and particularly Jim Schwartz and Vic Fangio on defense, and you know, Doug, but all the way back to.
And that's also probably why, I don't want to speak for you, but that's why you value so much those off the records. You know?
Yeah, and
like
that goes,
Shane used to say, Shane won't say shit on the podium, but boy, you talk to him off the record. You can learn a lot from Shane.
Yeah, it goes all the way back to Denny Green, and Mike Tyson, a different era where, you know, you were able to get a lot closer. And I've been lucky. I've gotten to watch film with coaches and personnel people, and so that's where it comes from.
Very true. Johnny Mac, your final thought on today's Wednesday edition of Birds 365. Great to have you back in the saddle, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, we're closing in. We're less than a week from OTA, so it'll be nice to talk about some on the field stuff, and it will be, and I presume we'll get to talk to Sean and Vic um, at some point during the OTAs. So things are ramping up, and that's a good thing. And then we'll get full board list season after OTAs.
Yeah, right. After OTAs, you got that last little dead period until what is it? Late July this year, training camp.
Yeah, it's always late July. That'll when they go to 18 games, I think that'll shift. But
yeah, that'll shift. All right, Johnny Mac, great stuff, man. I will catch up with you tomorrow on a Thursday edition of Birds 365. Thank you, brother.
All right, thanks all.
All right, thanks, Johnny Mac. There's John McMullen joining us right here. Give him a follow at JF McMullen. Appreciate him doing it today. Appreciate all you guys doing it today. Great show today. All right, a lot of good conversation. I thought Mike Gill was great per usual. All right, and another great second hour there as well with Johnny Mac, John McMullen. So appreciate all you guys. I thought even the viewers had some great comments today. I do love checking in with the viewers, getting engaged from what you guys are thinking. Curtis, per usual. Great comments. Eduardo, as always, I was reading some of what you put in there. Even Miles, I saw some of your comments. Caster Green, all you guys, thanks for checking in. I do love to get the differing opinions. I think that's part of what makes the world, right? I want to talk to different people. Darlene had some good comments today. So overall, I thought it was a good, strong show. Great to get Johnny Mac back in the chair. So that was good stuff as well. When it comes to the team, the Eagles and where we are, what I love about where they are right now, and also it's kind of a love-hate with it. The commentator in me loves how much is up for discussion, how much potential change is on the horizon with this team, how much unknown and uncertainty I think we all have, even maybe even the biggest fan. I mean, this is an uncertain period for this team, maybe more so than it's been in the last 4 or 5 years. So I enjoy that part of it. And then the fan in me maybe gets a little bit of agita by it, a little bit of agita from it. But overall, I do think the team is still in a good place, but it does feel to me that good decisions, are paramount right now. And they always are, but there's degrees to which that's the truth. And I think right now those good decisions are they're going to need to make good decisions if they want to keep that window open, if they want to be at the top of the league, if they want to, continue to be one of the creams of the crop, if you will, of the NFL. And I think the Eagles are in that boat. It's going to be hard for Howie Roseman. I think Howie Roseman's got a lot of tough decisions coming up, man. A lot of tough decisions coming up. With not only the offense, but the defense and, paying guys and, the coaching staff and the quarterback to some extent. I think it's all out there right now, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I know some of you might view it as a bad thing, but, look, when you want to be a great organization and a great team and you want to remain at the top for as long as the Eagles have been able to do it, sometimes you got to make change and maybe even sometimes you got to make unpopular decisions. Right? You got to make unpopular decisions or maybe decisions that you have to look and you have to see the forest through the trees, right? So I think Howie's got a lot of that upcoming here in the next 12 to 18 months, and I am excited to see how it goes and what it looks like this year. What can Sean Mannion do for this offense? What version of Jalen Hurts? I mean, some people say I've been critical of Jalen, but I think it's more about how do we get back to that version of Jalen where you do see an MVP level player or a player that has such a big impact on a game, it can't be denied. You saw that in 22. You saw that in 23. 24, it was less of that, but that was predetermined or at least easily explainable by how well the offense ran through Saquon Barkley that year. Last year was the first year I think you're like, I needed more from Jaylen, right? Because the run game didn't work. I needed the quarterback to elevate us or to lift up where they were falling short. Now you kind of have that wide open net where you wonder what it looks like and what he can do, what the coaching can do, what the whole offense can do. And then the other big wrinkle, guys, is the A.J. Brown thing. I know a lot of you guys are maybe fed up or tired of A.J. Brown, and I think that's fine. I can appreciate what A.J.'s done, but I can also understand why you'd be tired of him or why you'd maybe want the diva or the selfish player to be gone. But that doesn't answer From a personnel standpoint, fine. That doesn't answer, though, the output of the team. Like, are we of the belief that we're going to be a better offense without A.J. Brown? That's a tough sell for me. It is. I'm sorry. It's just a tough sell for me. Oh, yeah, get rid of the best receiver the Eagles have maybe ever had, or one of the best receivers they've ever had. After a legendary 4-year run, whether AJ's upset or not, he's been on the last 4 years, he's been one of the top producing receivers in all of football if you add up all 4 years. Not the last 2, obviously, but the last 4 all put together. Now you're going to move on from that player. You have a rookie coordinator who's coming in who's never called a play in his life. You have a rookie wide receiver who's supposed to take the reins. You have an O-line who was often injured last year and in some areas has a lot of uncertainty because of, I don't know, are they going to return to form? I don't know. So I the one area where I think I disagree with the majority of Eagle fans is I have no clue if they're going to be better post A.J. Brown. I guess you could say because they performed so poorly last year, they should be able to improve from that. It's kind of like John's philosophy of, you don't repeat career years. That's why they're career years. Well, you also don't repeat shitty seasons when your roster is good because, those are normally the outliers. But we're supposed to do that while getting rid of the best player we had on offense, while we have an injured O-line, while we're relying on a rookie wide receiver, while we're relying on a rookie play caller. That's kind of where I struggle to bridge that gap a little bit, and where I'm waiting to see any move. Wait and see more. Who cares? Who cares about what, Deshae? If you're here, you care. I hate to break it to you. Bonnie says, did you see Baldy's breakdown of Jaylen under center play action thrown to AJ, basically saying he thinks Hurts will thrive in this offense and think he's going to ball out and prove that Nick sucks? Maybe. We'll see. HKP says, it sounds unrealistic unless you're an Eagle fan. HKP, I agree, dude. I agree. Addition by subtraction. That's what they say, but, for this to be the case, you have to add more than you subtract. So, Island, are you of the belief that they've added more than they've subtracted? I mean, we can make this a simple math equation. Let's start with 10. Well, they've subtracted 5 with A.J. Brown. Do you think they've added more than 5? I don't know. I don't know. That's yet to be determined. Let it go. You sound like a cry. Oh, Deshae, shut the fuck up, Deshae. You're always fucking crying in this bitch. This dude, Deshae. No, not better, but being better and evolving. Riz, I actually like that. I mean, those are 2 different things to me. I think that's fair. What WAB says, let's not panic here. I'm not panicking. By the way, look, I love what I do, and I love the Eagles. I will never panic over the Eagles, okay? I have real shit in life that matters a whole lot more than a bunch of dudes in tights throwing a ball around a field. Let's not get it twisted here, all right? Panic would not be the right word to use. Let's not panic here, Zander. Let's see how this plays out. AJ doesn't want to be here. Let's move on with life, please. All right. That's not what I asked. You sound like Deshae. That's not what I asked. I asked if the team is in a position to improve after losing their best player. It's a fair question. James Jones said, hey, Zander, I'll give it to your channel. You're not afraid. No, I'm not, James. All right. Steve, what's up, Steve? Good to see you, brother. Zander, you're right. I do think they added enough to replace AJ's production, and with a new OC, they should be fine and improve. All right, that's fair. Lemon taking the reins. Well, Caster, you tell me, who's the wide receiver 2 on the team? I mean, if you think a rookie player is going to be as good as A.J. Brown, well, fuck, Caster. I'll agree to disagree with you, my friend. Caster's smoking on that castor. You're on that castor oil, whatever the hell that shit does to you. This dude Caster's smoking on that peyote pack. But a rookie player is going to be A.J. Brown. Is that what you're telling me, bro? Is that what you're telling me, castor oil? Come on, man. WAB, we won't know until changes are out in place, but let's give it a chance. I'm not saying I'm not giving it a chance. Hey, WAB, I understand this is what you want. But I have to do a show every single day until the season starts. I can't just fall off the face of the earth and pop up on September 13th and say, all right, everybody, let's see the new system and the new players. Woo! I got football to talk. Okay, Caster, I know you got a brain between those ears. If Smitty is taking the reins from AJ, which, by the way, he's never proven he can do, is Lemon now going to be able to take the reins for Smitty, who was the number 2? Caster! Come on, Caster! Wind it up and use that big brain of yours. Come on, man. Use that big brain. Eduardo, what's up, Eduardo? It's a wait and see type shit to get that answer, Z. That's really all it boils down to. Anything else? I agree with you, Eduardo. It's kind of the tough part about the offseason for me right now. Just a big wait and see, you know? It's a big wait and see. Curtis says, Mannion will impress him if he can simplify things and get easy completions for Jaylen. Asking Jaylen to be a field general isn't a winning formula. He needs to be creative, not complex. Great way to put it, Curtis. I agree. I agree. Oh, man. Look at Caster. Caster's got this whole puzzle working out, and the loss of the greatest receiver we've had in the 21st century just doesn't matter at all. Look, Caster's like, hey, we took a second-round pick on a tight end. Come on, Zander. What are you, high that they're going to replace A.J. Brown? We're good. A bunch of rookies. We're good. This guy, Caster, he's got the whole puzzle worked out. He's got the 1,000-piece puzzle. He put it together in 18 seconds. Guy completed the Rubik's Cube in a world record time. I know, Caster. All the draft picks, they're all A.J. Brown, replaced easily. That guy is no good. He's been replaced easily. Is that right, Caster? Holy shit. Here's T-Time. What's up, T-Time? Good to see you, brother. Last year when AJ was complaining about targets, Jaylen force-fed him balls and Smitty's production went down. Smitty was 6th in the NFL in receiving yards. That's right. I remember that. I think Smith will be fine. T-Time, I agree with you, man. I think Smith will be all right. My questions are less on Smitty and more so on everybody else. Them rookies that Caster's got as all pros. You know, folks, not every rookie's going to be Cooper and Quinion. All right? Not every rookie's going to be Coop and Quinion. Goddard and Lemon. You got more hype on Goddard than I do. I mean, what's Goddard's most ever career output? Dallas Goedert career stats. The most amount of yards he's ever had in his career, and it was one time, was 830. The second most he had was 702, and that was one time. Every other year of his career, he's been sub 600 yards. Or 607. There you go. He had 1 year, 607. I don't know. You got him setting a career high at 32. You got him setting a career high at 32 years of age after he had a down year last year. Hey, man, Caster, I don't want to keep taking you to the woodshed, but I'm taking you to the fucking woodshed. In a contract year. Last year was a contract fucking year. He had 590 yards. Last year was a contract year. Caster, I didn't want it to be you, Caster. Unfortunately, you're falling on the sword. Reds, what's up, Reds? Let's be patient with the I'm patient with them. That's not what I said. I didn't say don't be patient with them. I said we as a team need them already in year one. We have pressure on them because we're getting rid of A.J. Brown. So I agree, be patient If you're talking about 27, 28, shit, I feel great. I think Mekhi Lemon's going to be a fucking stud in the NFL. I do. Love his skill set, love his game, love the route running, love the tenacity he shows in catching the ball. Great catch radius, goes and gets the football. Had some great runs after the catch in college. I think he's done a lot. Year one, replace AJ? Whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't know. I don't know, Reds. I don't know about that. There's Deshae. Deshae, you whine more than anybody in the chat, and all you like to do is call out the whiners. You know, it takes one to know one, right, Deshae? You fucking cisspot. Just kidding, Deshae. You know I love you. You know I love you. But if you need to head out to the woodshed, let me know. All right? I'll take you out there too. I'm like Tony Soprano. I got the money behind the woodshed. In the bag of mulch or whatever the hell it was. Or soil. All right? All quiet on the western frontal lobe over there, huh? That's funny. All right. Would I sign Hill? Tyreek Hill? Nah, probably not, bro. Not really. I mean, it would provide a nice, you know, over the top weapon for Hurts, but I don't know, dude. How many more receivers do we need, man? I don't know. We got Hollywood Brown. We got Elijah Moore. We got Dontavion Wicks. We got Mekhi Lemon. We got Devontae Smith. We got Darius Cooper. You get a bone. You get a bone. You get a bone. You get a bone. Holy shit, we're gonna assume we're gonna be lining up 10 wideouts in the quarterback. Man. Woo! Bobby, what's up, Bobby? The key to everything is the O-line going to be healthy, elite again. The running game is key. Opens up. I agree with you. You know, Bobby, though, the one thing I don't agree with you is this. The passing game is going to have to do its part to take the pressure off the run game. Last year, defenses did not respect the Eagles in the passing game. 5 offensive linemen, no matter how good, how healthy, how successful they are, will struggle to block 8 people in the box. Always. They just will, dude. It's numbers. It's math. You know? It's math. Don't ask Castor. I'm just kidding, Castor. Now I'm beating up on your ass. I'm done. 5 guys will struggle to block 8 dudes. It's just a reality, man. It's just a reality. You got 5-man defensive fronts and 3 back. I mean, you know? All good, Cass. Appreciate you being here, brother. Tony, what's up? Z, people love the throttle controller. Yeah, I saw that, man. It's already off to a pretty strong start on the channel. I got to go. It's got 2.5K views already. Yeah, 2.5K views. Pretty solid reception. Tony, I thought that was I thought that was one of my better filmed videos too. It was really nice because I had Emily with me, so I didn't have to manage the camera all myself. So I thought the actual footage came out much stronger than, you know, when I just go stationary with it, if that makes sense. You know, so I thought that worked out well. Tony, thanks for tuning in, man. Zander, how's the wedding? I haven't done not a thing on wedding planning. I picked my tux, and that's about it. It's sit down. We couldn't even block 5 guys. Well, we definitely couldn't block 8. Is the JAKIB Media chat room? Sure, Sonny. If you want to roll up, Just make sure you bring a gift, all right? If not, then hit the road, Jack. Hit the road, Jack. All right? Is a wedding gifts or bust, dog. Oh, man. I'm about to make a JAKIB registry, all right? Who will contribute to the Big Z fund? All right. I got more expenses coming up that I know what to do with. They've already been whacking already. So, Z, who do you got as a sleeper team this season for both AFC and NFC? That's a good question. Let me take a look at that, man. Let me take a look at that. NFL standings here. I know some teams I have that I think will drop off. All right, sleeper team in the AFC, Chargers, I think could be one of the best teams in the AFC this year. Chargers, I mean, remember, they were a solid team last year with 11 wins, and they lost both their tackles. That's like the Eagles losing Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata. You'd be like, oh, fuck, that's tough. So, and now they've added Mike McDaniel, who I think is actually a good fit with Herbert. So my sleeper, I don't know if that's a sleeper because they were already a good team, but I think the Chargers would be a sleeper for me there. I don't see it yet on the Titans. Sleeper in the NFC, probably the Cowboys and probably – do I go Vikings? I don't know about Kyler Murray, but that is a good roster. I'd say Cowboys and Saints. Giants are a decent sleeper. Cardinals, no. Yeah, I think Saints. Saints maybe even more so than the Cowboys. I mean, I just like what they've done with that team, and I think that quarterback showed some flashes, last year. Kellen Moore, they're doing a great job with him. I think the Saints are probably my sleeper in the NFC. I mean, I don't know if this team would classify as a sleeper, but I think the 49ers are better than Eagle fans are giving them credit for right now. I think that's a good roster. The question there is their age. They're an old team. Old teams don't typically pan out well. But I do like that Niner roster. It's a good roster. I mean, they won 12 ball games last year with all their best players being fucking hurt. I mean, think about that, guys. Fred Warner was hurt. Nick Bosa was hurt. They still won 12 ball games. Now they got Mike Evans. They got some better players for the offense. I think they're a sleeper. But that's more paper. Let's see. They got to stay healthy. Packers will probably be a good team. Nah, I don't think Carolina did enough. I really don't have a lot of sleepers in the AFC. I think the Chiefs will return to relevance. I don't see many in the AFC. I mean, Eduardo, did I see you say the Jaguars are a sleeper? Bro, they're not a fucking sleeper. They won 13 games last year. What do you mean a sleeper? Eduardo, I mean, what do we classify as a sleeper here? I mean, they won 13 ball games last year. So, we'll see. All right, folks. Love all you guys. Appreciate it. Good show today. All right. A lot of good conversation per usual. Appreciate everybody for checking in. A lot of good comments today. Curtis per usual. Caster per usual. Good stuff from Caster. Thank you all for being here. Hollywood Hogan. Thank you. Sonny Buckets Jammers. James Jones. What's up, brother? Appreciate all you. Reds 215. Thank you, man. Everybody, thanks to all you guys. Tony, appreciate you being here. Hit that like button, guys. All right. Got to run. Got some stuff to handle here. Hit that like button, and I will catch you guys tomorrow morning. All right. Thank you all. See you next time, everybody.
EAGLES. Eagles.